Welcome back everybody to the Intel Extreme Masters Toronto Qualifier, where we already know that Major and Scarlet have qualified for the main event. And right now it's time for one more best of 3 and then a final best of 5 to determine who is going to be the third player to qualify off today. It's been a very fun day so far, Nate. A lot of good games, and this is a very fun one. Now, did you do what I asked you to do?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Damn it, Nate. Damn it. Let's take a look at how often HuK and ViOlet...
You told the viewers to check that.
I thought you would do it too, Nate. Look at you. All right. Anyway, we're getting ready. They've played against each other a lot at Battlegrounds qualifiers. I believe in WCS they played against each other.
Yep.
At Lone Star Clash 3 they played against each other. Overall, they've been running into each other very often lately.
They are in each other's WCS group for this season too.
Yeah, that is correct. With Revival and IEM.
Yep.
Well, it just continues. Things keep getting better and better. It's going to be a tough one for HuK, but I definitely don't think impossible. But ViOlet is very good himself. Either way, it should be a super fun series of StarCraft. The players are ready. We are ready. And we're loaded into game number 1 on Catalina, where ViOlet is going to be our Blue Zerg spawning on the right bottom side, representing the CSN agency and hailing from Atlanta.
Yep. A man who loves him some Swarm hosts in this matchup as well. He's been a Swarm host abuser.
Definitely a fun Swarm host player, though.
Yeah, a little bit more active, I guess, as we.
He won't try to let the game drag out for like 2 hours more if he's in a very good position. He will go Swarm host, but often it's after he makes a lot of links, a lot of roaches, trying to deny Protoss player from going up to 3 bases. Then just make sure that he won't die to the counterattack after he throws away a lot of those units. Overall, I feel that ViOlet Swarm host playing this matchup is very smart.
Yeah, I agree. And his opponent in the top right position, representing Evil Geniuses and Canada, it is HuK. Now HuK, of course, known for an aggressive style as well, active in a different way, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but in this matchup, he's also been showing a lot of variety in his playstyle. We have said this multiple times already throughout the last few months. This game, he's going to open up with the Gateway in his main base, but don't be too surprised if it's a Nexus first the next game, or even on a map like King Sejong Station, that he's going to open up with a pylon on the low ground and even drops a Forge at 12 or 13 supply. Either way, shows a lot of variety in general in his play.
Yep, that's just, you know, a HuK hallmark. If he can be greedy, he'll be greedy. But he generally does prefer to make his plays off of some sort of 2-base setup. Of course, faster expand means faster 2-base setup, but he does probe scout this game, so he's going to get a look-see at what ViOlet's up to. And, you know, there's no gas, so...
That is definitely something you want to see in this phase in the game.
Yeah.
It's really important. I love how ViOlet immediately takes the extractor as soon as the probe leaves. Still keeps HuK in the dark, keeps him guessing for now. He could always turn around and try to check one more time. Now hope that HuK doesn't like decides his game plan in the next 2 minutes with the idea of like, alright, my opponent is opening gasless. I'm going to try to pressure him with 3 or 4 gateway aggression, because you want to be careful with that. But in general, HuK is careful. He always brings a Mothership Core to recall if things get too dicey and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, HuK's just one of those players that's been around for so long. He's seen all these different scenarios play out in many different ways, and he kind of knows how to handle a guy like ViOlet at times, because ViOlet, unlikely to be that player to open up with, say, like a Speedling all-in in this matchup, so you don't have to worry quite as much. Look at HuK's Chrono Boost on this Warp Gate, though. Yeah. He's already put one into it.
I'm starting to get a little bit worried if he drops one more gateway in the back of his main, because like I said, he perhaps thinks that ViOlet is going to open up gasless, but that's not the case. 1 gateway, 2 gateways will be added in the front. As long as he doesn't add the 4th gate, then it's not too bad. Now ViOlet, this Overlord, peeks in. He sees as well. Alright, he still didn't take a second simulator in the main base.
Gateway, another Chrono on Warp Gate.
Yeah.
So tell me, Roddy, why are you worried?
I mean, it's not the end of the world. This is definitely not game over or anything. But often when a Protoss player does this, it's really hard to transition out of. Above all, there is no Mothership Core yet. So I really think that HuK has, you know, done this for the main reason that he saw early game. Alright, ViOlet is gasless. Will probably go up to 3 hatcheries and then drop his extractors around 5:45, 6-minute mark. I'm going to be able to pressure him with 4 gateways. I will be able to kite slow Zerglings till eternity. And I'm going to be able to make a lot of stuff happen. However, ViOlet immediately taking that extractor as soon as the probe leaves, I think definitely is going to catch HuK off guard. And now HuK sees as well, he's like, ah, so you're not on 3 bases yet. Alright, well that
That makes things a little awkward.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if this is going to help him already at least. And I think from this point on, you just want to be careful. You don't want to throw away too many units without a real purpose. There's so many speedlings on the production tab. There's just a single sentry at home. There is a mothership core though that's going to help out a little bit. But HuK's going to have to be really careful. I mean, if he
he's
gets
pulling some of these Zerglings of ViOlet back, which is, I think, most important at this stage of the game.
Okay,
There's the force field.
Good force field.
The thing is, I actually can't put a Zealot there to block it now, so it's going to get a little awkward.
Worst case scenario, he lets a few Zerglings come in, and then he still has another force field.
And there's the next force field. The Zerglings get the pylon. Nice pickup. HuK's running back. These Zerglings actually trying to hit the Stalker. I feel like he could kill it if he kill the Lings if he just actually attack them. Don't want to lose the Stalker. Not this early in the game.
No. There's more Zerglings making their way across the map, so I think the Stalker is still going to die eventually. Even though these Zerglings want to be careful, you don't want to lose all of your Lings just trying to fight these Zealots and whatnot. He really wants the Stalker though.
Yeah, man, Stalkers are so expensive.
Oh, the sentries are very exposed now, Nate.
Wow, nice pickup for ViOlet. And now HuK, I actually really worried for HuK. Now losing your sentry and your Stalker this early in the game.
Yeah.
You have fun trying to get tech up when you don't have any gas units to help defend.
The only good thing is that ViOlet did lose a lot of Zerglings in that exchange, so that means that he's going to have to reproduce them. And we see right now 14 Zerglings on the production tab, so this is slowing ViOlet's economy down quite a bit in an indirect way. It's really important that HuK starts getting some additional tech going, because he's not going to win the game on 4 gateways anymore. And now he's getting his second assimilator, so that's a good call.
Yeah, I do like this choice. Double Spine Crawler on the way with the Roach Horn is ViOlet's way of saying, I'd really like to not die to this attack that you're about to bring. And
yeah.
I mean, he does actually still have a pylon in the upper left area of this, area, but I don't think he can actually do much with it.
No, and above all, HuK is the mothership core with his army, so yeah, it's okay if these Zealots die, but as long as they die with a purpose. You don't just want to send them on creep and let them get kited by roaches. That would be the worst case scenario. This is going to get a little tricky though, because there's no creep over here either, so that means the time warp on the ramp can actually make things very complicated, and there is a lot of deep... I'm not sure if I'm really digging this first time warp.
I'm not digging this time warp. These roaches are going to escape with the queen.
There's so many Zealots though, this is going to be very difficult.
On the other side, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, surprise.
That is
nice.
A crazy amount of Zealots.
This is a lot more than I expected to see at this phase of the game. This is actually really insane how much he's committed to this.
HuK is doing some serious work, and there is a small chance he might even be able to get this hatchery. It's starting to take damage. Now, because of that time warp, there's no energy for recall anymore. More roaches will spawn, so it seems like even... Oh, okay, a few more Zealots coming in from the left side via that warp-in pylon.
That's so far to go.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that ViOlet has stabilized, but there's still this mothership core that's being annoying. Ooh, I like how HuK is hiding these Zealots for now in the left side.
And they run actually straight into the roaches. That's unfortunate.
Good play by either side, though.
Some Star Sends to find that mothership cores.
This mothership core can pick off a roach or two.
Yeah, man. Go get some last hits.
Meanwhile, there is an Overlord in the main base, keeping a close eye on everything that's going on in HuK's main.
Yep. Burrow and Roach speed. I do like these choices. I feel like ViOlet's just in a fantastic position. I don't know. What do you make of this? Because this Robo's so late, the upgrades are so late. ViOlet's lair has been done for a century now.
I definitely think he's in an okay position, but I do think that HuK still has plenty to work with. You know, he's going to be able to follow this up perhaps with roaches and sentries. There's no Hydralisk Den yet. I'm not sure if there's money for one. ViOlet is a little low in the gas department. He will be able to produce a crazy amount of roaches and Lings by the time that HuK would have the ambition to attack him. It seems like HuK doesn't have that ambition at all. He just wants to go up to 3 bases. So then I would say it's all right. It's playable. Yes, he's down 40 supply, but we all know how much supply roaches take. And with the 8 sentries and the immortals on the way, HuK should be more than okay.
Yeah, there's one immortal with this army. And the roaches are actually going to go over towards the right side. I think with roach speed, they could all try to ball up on this Nexus and snipe it, but all the sentries are already here, and HuK's going to try to just pinch a few off. I do like this play. Get a couple roaches for free.
Tunneling claws. Okay, that's an interesting decision by ViOlet. It gives us the idea that he wants to stick around a little longer. This is the type of game, by the way, where ViOlet will try to... Okay, this forces are really good once more.
Ah, Dat Burrow.
If only there was an Observer. Observer is halfway done, by the way, though. He's still going to get 2 roaches there. That time warp is okay as well.
Next. Those force fields could actually end up hurting him, though.
Yes, I'm not sure if the Roach have enough DPS to kill this Nexus though. The
Needs
Immortals
keep
are gonna
his
squeeze
army
through.
Together. Yeah, these Immortals come in, but there's still a lot of Roaches and Lings coming in from the left side as well. He's almost got a sandwich on HuK's army.
The doors
He's going
are
over
open.
to the natural expansion. He can run Lings in, snipes the sentry.
Good
Getting
play
on top of
by
the robotics
ViOlet.
facility as well. This has gotten very, very rough. He's just going to kill the Robo.
Really good play by ViOlet here, really using the mobility of all these Zerg forces. Now he still has these Roaches working on this Nexus as well. One Immortal is going to try to save the day and would need a little bit more assistance than just a single Stalker, so that Immortal is going to fall. ViOlet will end up losing a lot of units here, but it was definitely for a good cause as he did so much work with them.
Yeah, I mean, he's burrowing units in random corners of these bases, making things just that much more difficult to deal with. And
HuK was so close to stabilizing. If only he had like a sentry left at home to drop one force field, it could have all been different.
Another
one more
Immortal picked
Immortal.
off. This third base, like, can this even be saved now?
It's going to be very tricky. I mean, he might save it, but he has lost so many expensive units already. That's the most important thing. And above all, there are like 20 more Roaches on the way. Look at the minimap. It's just a river of blue streaming north. This Nexus is going to fall. There are still Roaches in the main base as well, with Tunneling Claws just being as active and annoying as possible. He could burrow these Roaches again and just like try to buy even more time.
That's so frustrating.
ViOlet has played this very, very well. HuK came so close though. It's often a very thin line between stabilizing and somehow, you know, like crushing the attack or just falling apart. And ViOlet just finding a very, very small window to work with and having a great call to go for the natural instead.
Yeah, this has just been fantastic. He's got Roaches everywhere. I don't even think there's any force fields to push these Roaches away once he comes up the ramp. And I mean, not like it matters. He's got Burrow. Yep, there we go. Sharking his way under. He's going to pop up and gobble the rest of these gateway units. GG. ViOlet finds himself one map away from that match we discussed, potentially against Pulp. Keep in mind, this is a best of 3, as this is not the qualifying match just yet.
Nope. If ViOlet wins the next map, then he will go up against Bolt in an epic best of 5. Two guys that live with each other, train with each other, basically just spend the majority of their time with each other, looking it out to decide who gets that paid trip to Into Extreme Masters Toronto and that seed into the main event. It was a good game though, I might opinion from either side. Like, I really like how HuK, as soon as he realized that ViOlet wasn't on 3 bases yet, immediately like, okay, there's no need for me to send my units in the natural, that would be a bad call. So he waited, then he started working on this hatchery. For a moment, I think maybe if he would have just gone all out on the hatch, he could have got it. When he had so many zealots, instead he was kind of running circles around the mineral patches. And I think something that often worked against him was that one time warp that wasn't the time warp that he was looking for. Like,
yeah,
he could have
behind the
waited
mineral
with
line,
it.
I'm like,
Yeah. He really could have waited for it and get a much better time warp and get much more value
yeah,
out of
like
the
what you
zealots.
said, like if you put it on the ramp, like as the Roaches were coming up, then it's really hard for them to retreat. You can get a few more hits off, but time warp, and especially in those circumstances, just feels so much weaker since the change. Like only 10 seconds really isn't going to do it because of how slow zealots move anyway.
And it also, of course, allowed HuK that he had to stay there because he couldn't, or forced him more, like didn't really allow him, but it forced him to stay there because he couldn't recall out anymore, he couldn't save those zealots. But even after that, it was still a very playable position, and I like the idea of going up to 3 bases. I think in the start he was handling it very well. Then just one time, like you said, the force field's working against him a little bit. First I thought like, he might still find a way to do this, but then ViOlet with the great call to just go for the natural immediately really found the biggest weakness of HuK defense over there, and it just snowballed from that point on.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a tough series. Interesting the way that first one played out. But tough for HuK. And it's all, this guy, we know he can be a little bit loopy sometimes. His decision making was certainly interesting, but it paid off. He is the blue Zerg in the bottom right. He represents the CSN agency, and his name is ViOlet.
ViOlet still bringing out this unique playstyle, so different in general than most of the Zerg players out there. We always try to do something a little different, makes units in phases in the game where you don't really expect it, where if you would ever watch, some broadcast, or you watch some tutorials, or you even listen to an interview. And I think even when some pro Zerg players watch ViOlet play, they're often confused by the time in the game where he decides to make all his units. But for some reason, ViOlet is always able to make it work. I already said it in the start of the last game, Nate. If they will play on King Sejong Station, I won't be surprised to see the pylon go down on the low ground for our red Protoss spawning on the left top side of the map. Of course, EG's HuK. And I kind of thought he might drop a Forge as well, but we don't see a Forge. I think, looking back at it, HuK would have loved to see a Forge, and I'm curious about his follow-up. Is it going to be Nexus first into Gateway, or is it going to be a Forge?
Hmm. It's interesting since he hasn't actually done any scouting. I imagine that HuK's the kind of player. I would expect Gateway. That'd be my call, and that's because that would be the reason why he builds a Forge. But yeah.
It is Gateway, and it seems like it's a good call because ViOlet is actually ViOlet is going double hatch before pool. So
Suddenly
if this,
I feel like HuK really wishes he scouted.
yep, if this would have been a Forge, then he could have still Candle Rush. We saw that the other day. I'm not sure who did that anymore. Was it Jim?
A couple of crazy people do it. Jim has done it.
Jim
We've
did
seen
it on
Oz
Deathwing.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go Nexus first into Cannon Rush, as silly as that sounds, but if your opponent opens up double hatch before pool, that pool is still going to be so late that even when your Forge is
then
late...
it's a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And Jim made it work as well. Jim made it work against Nasty on Deathwing.
Yeah, it was actually really, really cool and crazy to see. But now HuK comes in, you see that spawning pool timing, he's like, if only I built a Forge. But 10-minute score is on the way. So Nexus first into Gateway just gives you fast tech at the expense of... What do you say is like the biggest weakness of Gateway? I'd assume it's just your defensive capabilities because you don't have that cannon.
No, I mean, it's a little blind early game, especially with no scout. If this would have been a 10 pool speed, I think HuK's dead. It's borderline impossible to defend. I have no idea how you're even supposed to defend it on that point. So that is definitely one thing, but that's not the case. So you take a small risk, but just like a Zerg player takes a small risk going hatch first. That's like 99% of the time you'll make it okay because your opponent is not doing that specific build. The weakness now is that it's going to take a little while before he's going to be able to do something about this double hatch before pool, which obviously on paper is a very good, strong economic opening. However, you see more and more pros players not sweat it at all when they go up against this. I always panic if I see this, like, oh, I'll go for some city gateway attack, doesn't work, and then I wonder how they have so many units. Now, it's important for HuK that he just takes a casual, chill approach to this opening. Tries to do some economic damage, tries to slow ViOlet down, but as long as, you know, he doesn't overreact, he should be more than fine. And I would actually love to see him go up to 3 bases very quickly after his Stargate.
Yeah. Oh, there's Zealot getting caught. A bit unfortunate, not able to hide any kind of choke point. So, from this Stargate, what do you reckon? Oracle?
Yeah, definitely. I'd be surprised if opens up with Phoenixes. He's more of an Oracle opener. I'd be even surprised if he uses his Stargate at all after his Oracle opening. Now, the Oracle will always do some indirect damage. It will be able to force out a couple of Spore Crawlers. If it goes unscouted, which it has gone so far, I actually didn't even check that yet. But the Stargate hasn't been checked yet, so there is a chance that if this Oracle flies in, it can just ignore this single queen and still pick up 7 or 8 drones, because a single queen, it just takes too long before it kills the Oracle. And ViOlet is actively scouting, Nate. He's obviously a tiny bit worried. He's scouting in the left bottom side. HuK will follow this up with a Phoenix, but that Oracle already making his way across the map. There is still no Spore Crawlers on the way.
Yeah, he dodged. He actually went to the south to avoid the Overlord.
This Oracle should kill 10 probes, or 10 drones.
Fast pull, good reaction time from ViOlet, but as you said, he should still lose quite a few drones. He's making it a little bit harder now because you can't just park over there and just attack. But yeah, the drones are falling quite quickly.
I got 6. Yeah. Movement there, messed with the AI a little bit of the Oracle. The Oracle, of course, are rather clumsy when it comes to taking turns and whatnot. However, still got some serious work done. Mining time lost, 6 drones are down. I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, that Oracle's actually one shot away from getting killed. Zerglings kill the probe at the 3rd base of HuK. Now there's a Phoenix to kill Overlords, 4 gates being added.
This one Phoenix is like the Polt Viking.
Die! Except Polt's Vikings kill Overlords much faster.
I want 4 more gateways. Taking a look.
This Chrono on +1, you think he was just trying to hide from that Overlord now? No? Oh, there's a Robo.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly sure. I'm kind of glad to see the Robo because I don't think that a straight up gateway attack would have caught it, especially not with the Hydra's then going down already. And it's also like a little predictable. If you just make a single Phoenix, it kills the Overlord, makes it hard for the Zerg player to scout. That will trigger them immediately to make units the majority of the time. And it was also really hard for HuK to get a pylon up on the map regardless, because ViOlet was always there. Don't want to end up losing another probe. He will end up losing that probe. That's a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah. It's like sniping lings. It's kind of funny to watch Oracles fight Zerglings.
Out of energy. They're actually really good in defending your Nexus. If they make a crazy swell of Zerglings, you just have one Oracle there, firing away at them from the top. That extra damage is suddenly super sweet. Want to keep the doors closed, HuK. Just a single sentry and a single zealot, I really think could have changed everything in the last game. That one force field could have bought time and keep the roaches at bay at least for a little bit, because on that moment Tunneling Claws wasn't ready yet. The Burrow was ready, but Tunneling Claws wasn't ready. And that of course would also keep all those Zerglings away. That also complicated things.
Yeah. So we see the Hydralisk range. We have +1 Carapace. He didn't actually get... What do you think about this +1 Carapace, actually? Is it for the Lings against Zealots, I guess? Like he wants to push with Ling Hydra and then just have the Zealots be useless?
Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, Zealots would still not be useless, but it would take them a little longer to kill the Zerglings. And of course, Hydralisks do kill Zealots very quickly, so as long as these Zerglings can buffer a little bit, I think you're spot on with that. It's not something we see very often. Like, majority of the time you just see +1 missile attacks being fired up, but that's not the case. Now, this is a kind of attack that is very strong, but if HuK defends it, he's suddenly going to find himself in a very, very good position. Can he defend it? It's 39 army supply against 65. It all comes down to the weapons, and he has to put his army in a very good position. I like this wall for HuK. It is doable. It's definitely difficult, very, very difficult, because Hydras is so hard to deal with just gateway units, especially if you don't have Blink. But it's definitely possible.
This push is getting ready to come in. I'm interested to see how he holds this, if it's even possible. The force fields need to be stellar. Zerglings move in. Some of these Hydras actually do get up front, and this is going to make things a little bit more difficult.
Oracle helps out a lot.
That Oracle is actually going ham on the defense here, up to 17, 18 kills. Actually wrecks the Hydralisks too. Mothership
Good
Core
force
is
fields,
taking
man.
down the Time Warp, is actually okay to hold these Hydralisks in place, and HuK has he done it?
Yeah, it's a really good hold. This is an absolutely good, phenomenal hold there by HuK. Really didn't lose all that much. The Oracle did a very good job. Ends up losing a sentry. That's a little bit unfortunate, because that makes it harder. What a sick snipe by ViOlet. Because that sentry is HuK's key to scout. He actually does have a real Phoenix. HuK needs to check right now. He's like, hey, okay, I defended this. This was pretty difficult, but I did defend. Why were there not more reinforcements coming across the map? What is my opponent saving up for? Well, opponent is saving up for Mutalisk. HuK is already firing up a second Phoenix nade. I have the feeling that he has an idea that this is coming. He needs to chrono boost it. If he can get up to 4 or 5 Phoenixes, he's going to be more than okay, because he has Blink Stalkers as well. And he's even getting cannons in his mineral lane. HuK, has he already seen this Spire? Where is the Spire? No, this is excellent game sense.
Yeah, I think he realizes, he's like, man, Ling Hydra, okay. It's like there's a pretty smooth switch. Most players, when I say most, like a lot of players like to switch out of these like big attacks into Mutalisks. And the only thing that troubles me is that I mean, I don't know, Rami's obviously not crazy rich, but he's building a Colossus, but doesn't have any additional Stargates on the way, so one Phoenix at a time isn't really going to cut it against a big swell of Mutalisks.
Yeah, yes, I'm a little bit worried. It all comes down to that first engagement, you know. Will HuK be able to keep his Phoenixes alive? He will be okay as long as he never loses one. It was unfortunate he lost the Photon Mothership Core in the last fight, so no Photon Overcharge. Now this Colossus is actually being on the focus fire, so these Zerglings are going to be a little more tricky. Phoenixes, the control of the Phoenix is going to have to be phenomenal. The Colossus will fall.
Yeah,
this will also allow HuK to pick off a couple of these Mutalisks.
Yeah, it's a cute little play, but I feel like, I mean, was the one Colossus worth the mutas he just lost?
Probably.
I don't know.
I mean, it makes the follow-up attacks by Zerglings harder. It's really hard to say, Nate. I don't know.
There's a fleet beacon on the way. Now the extra Stargate's being added.
I'd love to see +1 being fired up as well for HuK. I think he's going to have time to research stuff like that. There are Corruptors on the way too. Now, of course, Corruptors make things a little more complicated for Phoenixes. And now he's going to go back into Hydralisk production again after realizing, like, hey, he's probably not going to make Colossus for a while. So what if I can actually surprise my opponent with a good old Roach Corruptor Hydra attack? You know, Corruptors in case there are Colossus, but above all, just to keep my Hydras alive. It's actually a really smart tech switching by ViOlet. That makes it so hard to play against this. And HuK just needs to scout very, very actively. So far, this is a really good game. I really enjoyed the play.
Yeah, this is a nice little back and forth here. These Mutalisks are having a hard time without the support of those Corruptors, though, and they're actually just getting picked apart before the Phoenix range is even done.
Yeah, it's also because ViOlet didn't really commit to making it anymore. Like, if you have such a small cloud of mutas, if you just have 7, that's very easy for 4 or 5 Phoenixes to dance back and forth.
He is forcing a heavy commitment to the Phoenix, though.
Yep. No, I think everything is going so far the way that ViOlet wants it to go. However, he doesn't have a very scary counterattack army. It is scary, but I think HuK, if he wipes in enough Blink Stalkers, he should still be able to deal with this. Because it's mostly Roaches and a few Zerglings in the mix. There are 2 Colossus again. I didn't even see he had 2 Colossus. It's going to be hard to keep those Colossus alive, but if HuK defends one more time, he's going to be in a phenomenal position.
Even though he kills the Colossi, like the few attacks the Colossi are allowed to make actually kill all the Zerglings.
There are Mutalisks in the main base. These very few Mutalisks actually doing serious work. Quite a few probes have gone down. The Mutalisks will get cleaned up now, but that also frees up supply for more and more Hydralisks. So HuK really needs to make more Colossus. I would even love to see a Void Ray or two, Nate. I think a Void Ray or two is excellent against all those Corruptors. Makes it so much harder for the Corruptors to kill the Colossus. What do you think?
I mean, I'm thinking about the bank I'm looking at of HuK, and it's not looking too great for Void Rays. I don't disagree with you, though. I think Void Rays are very good versus Corruptors, but at this point, he'd probably need to build 2 or 3 to really get the effect that he's looking for.
I like this as well. This is a very exposed base, and yeah, Mutalisks are great in killing pros, but so are Phoenixes. This is not a fight I think HuK wants to take. These Zealots are really not going to serve a whole lot of purpose in this fight. Most of them will die immediately. I'm really worried for HuK now. He's going to have to back off. He's going to lose the majority of his gateway units. The Phoenixes are going ham on everything on the other side of the map. But HuK needs enough units to stabilize here, and there are more and more Roaches and Hydras knocking on his front door.
This army is absolutely massive from ViOlet. He's crashing in. He wants to go up against Pold. He wants to be able to qualify. If he wins this game, he's going to move on and eliminate HuK. And these Stalkers have been backed up against the cliff. Probes are coming out to help fight against this. And I mean, once you're pulling probes versus Zerg, once you're pulling probes in general, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it seems like HuK will stabilize. The probes did that duty, but you know, the more and more Zerglings streaming across the map, and ViOlet fires up 17 more drones behind this. A little bit surprised that he fires up that many drones in this phase in the game. But I guess it's okay. He's gonna fire up Pelaging Lance as well. Just a little bit of everything, I guess. Good attack there by ViOlet. This has actually been very, very beautiful play by ViOlet throughout the entirety of this game. So many tech switches, and you know, me as a Protoss, Nate, I struggle most against stuff like this. I'm not very fast when it comes to, you know, macroing, microing, and scouting all the time at the same time. And you really have to actively scout non-stop against a Zerg player like ViOlet. Because he will always throw the exact units at you that you don't want to face in that phase in the game. Don't have Phoenixes yet, here are the Mutas. You're going very heavy on Muta defense, I'll go back to Hydras. Just did a really good job.
Yeah, ViOlet has like a really good way of never ever tunnel visioning. Like, he's always willing to switch, he's always willing to change it up. He doesn't get locked in on one thing terribly often, and it's paid off in pretty nice dividends for him in this game. I'm really scared for HuK. I'm not honestly sure how he stops this next maxed out attack.
It's going to be very tricky. How many Hydras are we currently looking at? 34, oh my.
Yeah, it's a lot of Hydralisks. So you can try to force field the Lings away from the Hydras, that's one way to do it. But those force fields not too great. Oh, actually, blinks forward and actually gets a lot of these Stalkers caught by the Hydras. Not good. Corruptors are coming in. They can actually use their corruption ability on a lot of these Stalkers. He's going to try to soften them up. Love to see one in that Immortal, but so far, HuK's holding on. But like I said, those Stalkers, they take an additional 20% damage from every hit once they get hit by these, and the Swarm hosts are on the way out now too.
Yep, I love the decision as well. You know, just in case somehow HuK would still have enough units to get a very scary Stalker Sentry Immortal ball out, and suddenly Roaches and Hydras are not going to cut it anymore, then Swarm hosts will definitely cut it for ViOlet. They will definitely make sure that he will never ever die against the counter. There are still a few Phoenixes out on the map that can be annoying, can pick up a few more drones. They have done their job. A lot of drones have gone down throughout the entirety of this game, but so many probes fell during that first attack, and above all, ViOlet is sitting on 5 bases. You know, it's completely okay to lose a few drones here and there when you're on 5 bases. You don't even feel it anymore.
Yeah, it is, at this point, ViOlet has all the tools in place. A pure gateway army like this really can't hold a candle to a Swarm host composition like the one that ViOlet's breaking out, and I'm not too sure what he can do with this. He needs to make the sickest plays ever.
Yep, few force fields will go down. But stepping on creep especially, Hydras is so scary on creep. Even when you zone out just a couple of them, even those Hydras will still be able to kill a couple of sentries before they fall. The force fields are really good though by HuK, but you know, this thing, even if he wins this fight, Nate, how is he going to deal with all the Swarm modes? How is he going to deal with the Locust? He doesn't have that much energy. He's only on 3 bases, 23 Hydrals being fired up now. Now HuK is also firing up 2 Void Rays, and he's getting a Colossus. He's done a good job in like re-establishing his own economy. After his main base is mined out, 55 probes is fine on 2 bases. That's pretty much most you're gonna get out of them anyway.
Yeah, this is interesting. How many Corruptors does he still have? 7. So I guess the Void Rays aren't completely unwarranted.
Second Spire is going down. I mean,
now
ViOlet,
the Swarm hosts are beginning to siege HuK's base up, and I think that's going to make defending this fourth that much more difficult. Because look at this, he's even got the Hydras on the left side.
Yep.
He's getting ready to hit from every possible angle.
And not just that, above all, ViOlet is banking so much money that if they would somehow trade, he can switch back into Mutalisk again, and it's so hard for HuK to keep up with that. HuK is going to try to go up to 4 bases over here, though. He's going to get that Nexus here. These Hydras are going to try to just run straight into the natural. HuK can't afford to lose the probes once more. Losing a gateway or two, that's not the end of the world, as Locusts are trading away against Stalkers.
These Locusts are such a great buffer to keep him away from those Hydras. Now you can walk in, just go full Polt on this Nexus.
Full Polt it is. He will be able to snipe it in no time, and HuK just trying to find something, trying to catch a break, trying to find breathing air, but the Immortal is so exposed as well. It's going to live for now, but oh well.
Close.
ViOlet just with an excellent game. So many tech switches from start to finish. It was nothing but tech switches. Opened over the Hydra link, went into Mutas, went back into Hydras. Just very well done by him. Excellent play. I mean, HuK still has 156 supply, and he's still he's starting to get a very, very scary Protoss army. So it's not impossible, but he just doesn't have an economy to work with. He's going to lose this base as well. ViOlet doing an absolutely phenomenal job in making sure that HuK is broke as a joke.
Yep. This is a really tough spot to be in for the Protoss. Even though HuK has a powerful army, he doesn't have a bank. If he loses it, that's it. This army, he's not going to be able to reproduce. Now he's fighting head-to-head against the Hydralisks. The Colossi actually being allowed to fight is quite nice. Those Void Rays are going ham on the Corruptors, but 19 more Hydralisks on the way. Still a very powerful army.
Well, Stalker's trying to snipe a couple of these Corruptors, but that wouldn't be for free, as a couple of Locusts will be able to chip their way through these Stalkers as well. How many probes does HuK? HuK is 44 probes now. That's absolute bare minimum of what you ever want to work with. Like, if HuK would be able to max out, you would always say he has a chance. And I mean, this looks like a pretty okay Protoss army. The problem is ViOlet is so incredibly rich, while HuK is so incredibly poor.
Yeah, I think at some point, if you can get like a surround or a flank, it could be he could just sweep this whole army right under the rug, and that's going to be the really scary part, because these swarm hosts are just going to constantly be pushing him back no matter what he does.
And he has a lot of sentries as well, so you have to be so careful. His sentries die so quickly against Locusts.
Now some of these Hydras are left here to die. Not the fun way to die for Hydras.
And when we take a look at the unit's lost resource tab, we can see that ViOlet has lost 5,000 resources more than HuK, but it's been completely okay for him to do that because he's just recycling units. He's trading units for units while being on a much better economy. Now, even with his 6 base running already in the right bottom side of the map, really phenomenal macro by ViOlet this game, Nate. Phenomenal macro, phenomenal tech switches. And he's still gonna have to fight for it, because this is still a Protoss army that won't just die.
Yeah.
However, it's so hard for HuK to deal with stuff like this, losing important tech buildings now as well. Can end up losing his cybernetics core. Might just force him to go for it, but against all these swarm modes, that's going to be very tricky. He will find a couple of them exposed though.
Yeah, he's trying to retreat with them, trying to bring an observer forward, get the swarm host kills as more and more spore crawlers start up. But he's gonna he should be able to kill everything inside the main base of HuK. He's gonna leave just a few Hydralisks behind and bring the rest home. Which I don't disagree with, but these Stalkers, like, they actually need to make a miracle happen.
Yep, this is pretty much all the anti-air that HuK has as well. So ViOlet still has money in the bank. He could still switch into Mutalisk eventually. A couple of good force fields now can really complicate things. Those force fields are good. Has to make sure.
But the Colossi are all caught in the back by the Corruptors and the Hydralisks. Only a single. Well, I guess there's one with 1 health now. Only 2 Colossi remain. The Corruptors are going to get on top of these in no time. And with that, the bank of ViOlet is just too much. GG. ViOlet's going to advance on to play in the final series of the night against Polt for the last qualification spot here.
That was an absolutely beautiful game by ViOlet, just from start to finish, Nate. That's a very interesting style of ZVP to play. That's a style that I mean, more Zerg players, of course, do tech switches. It's not like ViOlet just rediscovered fire or something, but the way that he does it and the amount of times he does it in a single game as well. He's such a hard Zerg to play against. We often say that, you know, as a ZVP, it's really hard if you play against a Protoss that has multiple different openings and playstyles. ViOlet is like, well, what if I have multiple different openings and playstyles? And that's exactly what he showed us. Game number 1, he opened up with speed, delayed a 3rd hatch. Game 2, he went 3 hatch before pool. And after that, just multiple tech switches throughout the game. I think he played some really, really good ZVP there. So for now, the rivalry continues between HuK and ViOlet, as ViOlet takes one more check mark next to his name of winning this one. But I'm sure it's just a matter of time before these two players run into each other again. Now, HuK is not in the main event yet, but that doesn't mean that he won't be part of Intel Extreme Masters Toronto at all. He can still go to the open bracket at the live event and still try his luck there. And I have an idea that he will do that.
Probably.
I mean, it's in his home country. He should.
Yeah, might as well. So that means the final series to determine the final qualification spot for the Intel Extreme Masters Toronto is going to be Pult versus ViOlet, a Siktan versus Zerg series that we've seen a couple times in the last few months. We're going to take a short commercial break, and when we come back, our final best of 5 of the night. You're watching Intel Extreme Masters.